Guys. Yes, we are live. I'm assuming. Y'all let me know down in the comments if y'all can hear me. But here we go. All right, guys. Welcome to episode 2 of the Legend of Nintendo podcast. I'm your host, the video game votary, and better late than never. I got to get on the schedule with the podcast, guys. But, nevertheless, we're here. We've had some big news lately, and you guys already know what we about to talk about. That new Super Mario Brothers Wonder Direct. We got to talk about that. That's definitely the topic for today's episode. So we're going to be reacting to it. I know I'm late, but me being the Nintendo World Champion, I got to give you guys a reaction. And I wish I could have done it live, but I was at work. But man, that game looks absolutely fantastic. It looks phenomenal. And I'm not just saying that being biased. Of course, I'm biased being a huge Nintendo fan, but still, just looking at the game, it is just absolutely phenomenal. So I just want to go through a couple standout points to me that I took from the Direct. The Direct was only about 15 minutes long. It wasn't long and drawn out. I think they were straight to the point, and they also gave a lot of details in those 15 minutes. So at first, what you get is kind of the storyline and the plot behind the game. The game is taking place. The setting is not the Mushroom Kingdom, which we all have known and become accustomed to, but it's taking place in the Flower Kingdom, which I think gives a little twist, a little bit different than what we're accustomed to. Being most of the games take place at the Mushroom Kingdom, and this one's at the Flower Kingdom. So I think that was pretty cool of Nintendo to kind of just tweak it, just enough to kind of give it a different storyline and not the same typical storyline where you got to save Princess Peach. She's actually a playable character on there, and we'll get into that later on in this podcast. The next thing that I took away from the Direct was the open world style walking around in the map area. I know it's not a big thing, but it's definitely different where you can, if you've seen it, if not, highly recommend it. I'm going to link it in the description once I finish recording and it gets processed and upload. You're able to walk around the map in between the areas, which I think is pretty cool. It gives it kind of a little bit of an open world feel, not too much, because it's definitely not open world, but just that was just, to me, just a nice little touch that Nintendo added to it. Something that I personally appreciate. Just gives it a different feel. It's almost kind of like modernizing and moving Mario just a little bit more forward. And we had the last 3D Mario game, and this is a 2D side-scrolling game, which we haven't had. I'm sure the audience out there, if you're a Nintendo fan like me, you don't mind, but we had the new Super Mario Brothers Deluxe that came out on the Wii U. It came out on the Wii, then the Wii U, and then they put it on the Switch, which I recently beat a few months ago. But needless to say, it was a great game, great adaptation to the Switch. So that was the last 2D Super Mario side-scrolling game that I believe that came out. So I think that's, just the fact that they actually now have moved past the new Super Mario Brothers game, kudos to Nintendo finally for that, taking the time to put this out. And I don't know, let me know down in the comment section below if you listen live on the podcast. Make sure you like on whatever your favorite podcast or platform. Just search Legend of Nintendo Podcast. Whatever you prefer, do you feel like these last couple Nintendo games that's been coming out and been that have been slated for release this year, do you think this is Nintendo's last hurrah for the Switch? As you guys know, there's been rumors of the Nintendo Switch 2 or Switch 2 Pro or just the Pro Switch, whatever. We're not sure just yet, but there is rumors. But do you think with them coming out with Tears of the Kingdom, and now we got Super Mario Brothers Wonder on the horizon. We also have a Luigi's Mansion remake, and then we're supposed to get a new Super Princess Peach game, which I'm super excited about next year. Do you feel like they are gearing up to basically close the door on the Nintendo Switch? Let me know down in the comment section below. If you are listening on a podcast, hit me up on any social media platform at Video Game Voter. Let me know. All right, so back to the game. Another thing that I felt like stood out that was different, very different than any other Mario game, especially whether it's 3D or 2D side scroller. You have the ability to play any of the stages in any order that you want. You know, normally you gotta go through the worlds and you gotta play each stage one by one, and you gotta do it in a specific order. This particular game, you're allowed to play in any order that you feel, and then once you beat it, you're also able to go back instantly through a menu to any stage that you previously completed. So I think that's pretty cool. It's also very, very different and allows you to experience the game however you see fit. You know, of course, going into the game, it's not really much knowledge, so you're kind of just winging it. I don't know exactly how I feel about that. I kind of like games that's kind of like, you know, directional, that kind of give you a direction to go, and not more so open world. You can kind of get lost in that. Even though this is not an open world game, I'm just saying, like, you can kind of get lost in the sauce when you're playing those type of games. But needless to say, that's very different. Also, something that stood out too, and it may not be a big thing, it's minor things that I feel like will make a game very, very interesting, fun, different, and things in that nature. The talking flowers. I'm sure, you know, some people like, oh, you know, what about the voice, whatever, the voice acting and stuff like that. But they seem very realistic. They seem very like almost like it's almost like alive. If you guys get what I'm trying to say, I think that they did a good job with that. I think it's a cool little thing that they added in. Again, trying to modernize it, make it more, I guess, more like a realistic gameplay. And also those talking files, they give out tips. They say little funny, quirky things and things like that to kind of keep the game kind of interesting and fun and lively. So I thought that was cool. And the characters, of course, you got Super Mario, you got Luigi, you got two different Toads. And then you also have Princess Peach, which, if I remember right, I know you can use Princess Peach in New Super Mario Bros. Deluxe, but it starts as Toadette, and her power up turns into Princess Peach. This particular game, Princess Peach is an actual playable character, so that is awesome. And also, Yoshi is a playable character. Of course, Nabbit is making his return, but Yoshi now is a playable character. So I think that's cool. Gives it a whole new twist to that. I don't even remember if Yoshi was ever a playable character outside of, you know, any of Yoshi's games by himself. So that's cool. And also a bit of a surprise, Daisy. Daisy is now a playable character, and I believe she's from the Flower Kingdom. I have to remember. I always get them mixed up, but I believe she's from the Flower Kingdom, so it kind of makes sense for her to be a playable character in here, according to the storyline. But that's definitely a surprise, a good surprise, and it's definitely awesome. So shout out to Nintendo for that. I think that was a good idea. I think they put a lot of thought into these things. Next, we're going to talk about the power-ups. There's many different power-ups. Of course, the biggest, more obvious one that everybody's seen, even if you didn't see the direct, you probably see shorts all around, you know, social media, stuff like that. The elephant. At first, I was just like, kind of, you know, that's a little weird, but you got to think about it. Think about Nintendo's history. Nintendo's weird. They do stuff like that, you know, stuff that's different, but I mean, they all kind of serve a purpose. I don't know where they got the thought of the elephant from, but, you know, needless to say, I think it's pretty cool. Like, the fact that the elephant is, you know, turns whatever, and each playable character all get the elephant power up. So it's not just limited to certain characters, but the elephant power up, you're allowed to walk over big gaps, and then you also allowed to store water. You can shoot water up, like if you got like a question box above, you can utilize the trunk to absorb water and expel it. kill enemies from a distance. I think that that's a cool little twist, just something different. I wish I knew like the roots of the elephant power up in regards to being in the Mario game, but needless to say, it's there. It's different. The next power up I want to talk about is the bubble form. Now, the bubble form, apparently you're able to utilize bubbles. And basically, your character can like expel a bubble, and it can kill enemies. It can go through walls. It can kill enemies far away. And then you can jump off of the bubbles as well. So certain places that's higher to reach, you can utilize the bubbles to reach these different areas and stuff like that. And then the fact that you can kind of kill enemies that are further away kind of helps you along in the game, as far as being able to attack them early and kind of like not even really being in contact with it. I think that that's a cool little power up, different but cool. Next power I want to talk about is the drill form. The drill form is super cool, and apparently, so with this drill form, your character, I don't want to say Mario, your character can turn like the top of his head turns into like a drill. So you're able to drill underground. Now you got those blocks and stuff like that where you can go on the ground, find the secret passages, stuff like that. Your character can drill through the ground. Also, your character is able to go underground. So it can go under spots where you wouldn't be able to get through. You're able to go underground. So I think that that's another cool one. Also, another big thing about the drill mode, the drill form, is like the spike characters. You all know, we've been playing Mario for a long time. The spike characters, you cannot jump on top to eliminate them, to kill the enemies like you normally would, because they will kill you with the spikes. And any other quote unquote hard character, you're not allowed to jump on top of them. But with the spike drill form, I keep saying spike. The drill form, you're allowed to kill those enemies. So, basically you can jump on top of them, or, hit them with the drill, or, however that's going to work out. But you're able to eliminate those harder and spiked enemies with that power up. So I think that that's pretty cool. The last thing we were talking about, power ups. And this is something that has been gone probably since, I'm trying to think, when was the last game this happened? But this game, they finally brought it back, and I've been a super fan of it. I've personally missed this because I feel like, it's just a benefit to the player and to the game. They brought back the ability to store extra power, which I think is totally fantastic. It's phenomenal. I love the fact that they brought that back. Like I said, I think the last time was probably in, oh man, probably the first new Super Mario Brothers, the one on the DS. Correct me if I'm wrong. Let me know down in the comment section below. But I believe that was the last one you were able to store power up. And the reason why I say that, it hasn't been, pleasant not having that, because I feel like certain power ups are available obviously for certain stages. You might need fire, water, air, things like that that'll help you through that particular stage. But I feel like, let's say you go into a stage with firepower, now you have to utilize the freezing, not freezing firepower, but you guys know what I'm trying to say. I forgot the term for it. But when you accept the new power up, the old one would disappear. It's just gone. I would prefer it to go back to, which it is, go back to where if you get a new power up, it's stored. Like you still keep it, which I think is awesome. So I think that that's cool. I'm glad that Nintendo brought that back. So shout out to them for that. Next, we're gonna talk about the Wonder Flower. Now, of course, the Super Mario Brothers Wonder. So of course, it has something to do with Wonder. So the Wonder Flower. So when you find a Wonder Flower, it can affect the game in different ways. Oh, we got the comment section. Shout out to Gamer Aimer. What's up, Gamer Aimer? How you doing? Welcome to the podcast. Thanks for stopping in. So the Wonder Flower, it changes the effects of the game. Like different things can happen. You can have just like a raid or a horde of just different enemies coming through. The screen can flip upside down. It changes the perspective of the game. Like it has a mode where it can be top down. Your character can start floating. It's crazy, like the things that Nintendo, the ideas and thought process they put into these things. And also like the player transformation. So the Wonder Flower, you just never know what it's going to do. It's kind of unpredictable. Different things can happen. It can even transform your player, where your player could turn into, any, the player can start floating around, just different stuff. It's just a different feel to the game. And, I think that that's awesome that, again, they're expanding on Super Mario, especially in the 2D platform. It's put a lot more into it. A lot more thought process into the 2D side-scrolling Mario, where it's kind of, typical. It's typical, but then this one has a lot more twist to it. Then they added badges. The badges gives you new abilities, where it's different, couple different ones. I'm gonna touch on a couple of them. They have a jumping badge, like a wall stick badge, safety bounce, saves, invisible, jet run in the air. So the jumping badge will allow you to jump a lot higher than normal, which I'm curious to know. I'm sure, well, if they didn't, they definitely should implement it. We all know Luigi can jump higher and jump longer period of time. I wonder if his is going to be like, kind of like, like an extra boost, to his jumping abilities. Also, the wall stick. You guys know, with the I forgot which Mario was, but when Mario's able to kind of stick to the wall, they've added that badge where any character can now use that instead of just that one power up. The safety bounce save. So what that is if you have that badge implemented, you can only, let me also point out that you can only implement one badge at a time, and you have to select it according to the direct. You have to select it prior to going into the stage. So the safety bounce is basically saves you if you jump off the platform and you're falling, and it automatically saves you. So I think that's cool, especially for younger players. And you never know. We playing Mario. We're playing normally, probably playing pretty fast. Be going too fast, jump off. So I think that that's a cool little power up. The invisible power up. I'm not so sure like how that would be beneficial unless you're playing with somebody else. Because basically your character disappears. So, and I'm assuming that your character is invisible to the enemies. I'm not so sure. I guess we'll have to wait till the game comes out to actually see what that actually means. I'm assuming that that's what it means, but you don't want to assume and go too far. But if I can guess, I'm thinking that's what that is. Yeah, Gamer Aimer is saying that she can't wait. Neither can I. I definitely cannot wait for that. Next, we want to talk about some of the just options and availability and how to play the game. So they have a local 4-player co-op, which I think is awesome. So you're able to play four player, up to 4-player couch co-op, which is cool, especially if you have friends or kids over, game night, whatever. So you able to have 4 characters and go through this map, which I believe was on New Super Mario Brothers as well. But I'm not sure if it was 4 players that you're allowed on the screen, but you're allowed 4 players, needless to say. I think it's cool that if one of your teammates die, they turn into a ghost and you're able to kind of save them. It's like a time limit. I don't know if it's 5-10 seconds or something like that. I'm sure it's not too long, but you're able to, as that ghost is floating around, as long as you get to your teammate in that time frame, you're able to save your teammate, bring them back, and you don't lose a life if one of your teammates die. I believe all 4 characters, if it's 4, 2, 3, whatever, all characters would have to die in order to lose a life. So I think that that's a cool little thing. It kind of reminds me really of Cuphead. If you guys play Cuphead, Cuphead is an awesome game. I love Cuphead. When your player, if your teammate's playing, you kind of have to parry, and then if it dies, kind of floating away, you gotta get your teammate before he floats off of the map. So it kind of reminds me of that. I think that was cool. I think they kind of got their idea from Cuphead, but still awesome to add to the game. Next, you're able to ride Yoshi on this game. Like, we haven't seen that since, I believe. I mean, obviously you can ride Yoshi, but the difference is if you have a teammate. If your teammate is Yoshi, you get to ride that character. It's kind of like, I don't know if Donkey Kong Country implemented that, but I remember like you'd be able to get on Donkey Kong, vice versa. But I don't think it was like that. But I think that's pretty cool, and probably certain stages of certain maps, it'll probably be beneficial to you. Or if you got a younger player, a kid or something, that may help. You can help them along with stuff like that. Next, I want to touch on online. So, gaming community. Let me point this out, man. They gave so much. The the community gave so much flack when this game was announced, and just little tidbits. I remember watching Spawn Wave on Spawncast. Shout out to Spawn Wave. If you're not familiar, please go subscribe to his channel. It was showing online on the Nintendo website where it was they didn't have online listed, and guys were having a fit. Guys, you gotta give allow these companies and manufacturers time to develop certain things, or even they're not gonna put out everything about the game right away, right? And I say that to say this: they're talking about online now. It's showing that it's definitely available online. And I don't think it was a thing where Nintendo listened to the audience. I think it was already in the works. They just didn't, perfect it or have it complete the way that they wanted it to, you know, because it's so much detail into the online thing where you can see other players live, even in the map, live on the game itself. Like if you're on a certain stage, you're able to see like a little kind of like not hologram, but kind of invisible characters that is another player that's actually playing live in real time, which I think is cool. Then you can also another cool thing about playing online, you can share power-ups and different elements of the game with whatever person you're playing with. Then you can also save those players as well. Like you see, same thing I was telling you about the 4-player co-op. If you see a ghost, like you can run into another player's ghost and you can kind of respawn them, which I think is cool. But that, I believe, is if you're playing together in a separate room. Also, there's different modes of playing online. Race mode, where you can play a certain map, you kind of race to the end. I think that's cool. And then, like I said, the private room, I believe, is where whoever you got in your private room, you guys can set up races. You can set up competitions to who finishes the map first, things of that nature. And just speaking on the online gameplay, that was one thing I was kind of not so sure about. I feel like certain people were kind of like, seemed like they were upset at first when they thought it wasn't going to be online gameplay. But it's kind of like, are we playing Mario games online? Like not like, of course, Mario Strikers and these sports titles or Mario Kart, stuff like that. I'm talking about like the 2D platforming. I mean, it's cool to do, but I don't think it would be a big deal if it wasn't on there. I'm just saying, let me know down in the comment section what you think about that. I don't think it's a big deal. I definitely don't think it was going to make or break this game. But, I mean, nevertheless, like I said, there's a lot of detail into the online compatibility of this game. And, guys took the first little inkling of the game and they ran with it. So, it's guys, stop jumping to conclusion. It's not the end of the world. We got Black Ranger in the chat. Shout out to my brother Black Ranger. If you guys have not subscribed to his channel, make sure you subscribe to his channel. Also, please go vote for my brother Black Ranger, as he was nominated for YouTuber of the Month. Head over to his channel to find out the fine details and make sure you go vote for him. Shout out to him. Next, I want to talk about the graphics. I'm sure everybody's like, all right, like Mario's not graphically impressive, but small minor details, the people they want to nitpick in a good way, right? So even just looking at Mario's, the character in his face, it's just a lot better. It's a little more detailed in it. And even just the rest of the characters, they put a lot more detail into the character, the appearance of these games. Also the sprites, the background, the game just really looks phenomenal. The power-ups, how they affect the the actual map and what you're actually seeing, how they affect the game visually. The game just looks fantastic. And these are kind of like, I mean, the game comes out next month, so I'm pretty sure that game is done. Obviously, they can fine tune certain things and do little minor updates and stuff like that where you download it. And if they didn't have it on the, whatever they had already packaged together, once you download the game, of course, I'm sure it's going to be some sort of download you're going to have to do to have the total game in its entirety, or any kind of updates and bug fixes. I believe that, they're going to be able to correct that. But the game graphically just looks impressive. The game overall looks super duper impressive. So we are expecting to have that game will be released on October the 20th. So we are just a little over a month away for the release. So I'm super excited about it. And also, I don't know if you guys know, I found this out like kind of just stumbling upon it. So GameStop told me that, well, not told me, GameStop from Nintendo is allowing free pre-orders for Super Mario Brothers Wonder. So if you guys weren't familiar with that, not saying that they won't be available, but the simple fact of the matter is they're doing free pre-orders anyway. But Nintendo is offering free pre-orders for Super Mario Brothers Wonder. And Black Ranger say he's not playing as Yoshi. Black Ranger is definitely playing as Yoshi, and he's getting rogue. Pause. He's definitely getting rogue. So I think that's funny. Like that was kind of like an ongoing joke in the group chat for the Right Way Podcast. Shout out to everybody on the Right Way Podcast, Mr. Right Way, Black Ranger, Neo Ness. I feel like I'm forgetting somebody. A Omega, of course, the Grape Drinker, Super Pause. And also, another thing that they announced at the end of the Direct, October 6th, we are getting a new special edition Nintendo Switch OLED. It's called the Mario Red Edition. Looks very familiar to the, shout out to Porn Star JR. That name is crazy. Shout out to him in the chat. Salute, brother. So October 6th, we getting the Mario Red Edition of the Switch OLED. I'm planning on getting it. I don't know, like, I know how I can get very impulsive when things get released. So my plan is maybe to trade in my original OLED to get that, depending on what the trade credit is. You know, GameStop normally offers a little bit more trade-in credit when you're trying to upgrade, especially if you're a Pro Rewards member, which, you know, can be beneficial to you. It just really just all depends on what you want to do. I'm kind of thinking that I want to do that. It's small little tidbits, like they got like where on the back you can see like the coins, but it's very similar to the Super Mario Odyssey edition of the Switch that came out. It wasn't OLED, but just the casing, which I think that didn't sell too well. I actually sold mine to get the OLED. That didn't sell too well, and I feel like they kind of took the leftovers from that and just added little small things. I'm not gonna lie, I feel like they did that, especially at least for the dock. That's what it looks like to me. But needless to say, I'm a Nintendo fan. I'm not mad. You know, you gotta utilize what you have. You don't want to be wasting money. So that's what I think. But I still think I may get it. And other than that, it's not really too much different. I mean, obviously, your actual Switch console itself will be red and it'll be OLED. So, you know, it may be worth it. I think it's still going to be at the same price point at $350, which I feel like at some point they should drop that down to $300 for that Switch. But I mean, I guess you're paying $50 for a better screen. I'm not mad at that. I can't complain. And I don't feel like any of us should either, you know. But that's going to conclude today's episode. Let me know down in the comment section below on this video. On social media, hit me up. Let me know your thoughts on Super Mario Brothers Wonder release. Also the Mario Red OLED Switch that's going to be released a couple weeks before the game. Is that something you're going to pre-order? You guys are going to go to GameStop and get your free pre-order in for the game. It's going to be day one. Let me know your thoughts on the game on the Direct. Also, if you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. Whatever your favorite podcast platform, just put in Legend of Nintendo Podcast. It is available. Also, follow me on all gaming and social platforms at Video Game Voter. And it's going to be the end of episode 2 of the Legend of Nintendo Podcast. Your boy, the Video Game Voter, the Nintendo World Champion, signing out.